Ron Patel, Comic Boom. Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are
Awesome.
you,
Good to
man?
talk to you.
Doing well, thank you. Big fan of your I'm a big fan of yours, Ruben. So I wanted to get started with when you a lot of your films, you have the Uncharted, Venom, Zombieland. These all like thrive on this kinetic sort of action, and then you also mix in a good sense of humor. So how did you kind of want to bring your natural sensibilities into the Now You See Me world?
Well, it was really exciting for me because I was a fan of these movies. So I was able to approach the film as if I was a fan. What would I want to see in the next version of a Now You See Me movie? And just filled it with as much magic as possible. But I also have a long history with working with Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson, who are obviously core characters in this. And I was excited to collaborate with them once again in this world that, Bobby created.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Bobby, these movies have been they thrive on this misdirection and the illusions that you guys
Yeah.
concoct on screen. So what was it like when you guys are mapping this film out? Because it's been in development for a long time and I'm glad it's finally here. But what was it to you that is like this is the right time to bring
Well,
the Horsemen
I
back?
mean, in the sliding doors of life, there's probably an alternate universe somewhere where we'd made the movie, earlier. But when we were constructing the first movie, and we were talking about how do you make a movie about magic work? Because again, the thing about magic is if I do a magic trick in front of you, it has power because it's in front of you. If you do a magic trick on screen, the audience knows by definition, movies are illusion. They go, oh, you turn the camera off, you put the rabbit back in the hat, you turn the camera back on, you pull the rabbit out, right? So there's not necessarily power. And the thing that we landed on that was the huge, big architectural idea was that if the whole movie is a trick, that's how you can make a movie where the main characters are magicians. And so if you think about it, the structure of the first movie in particular is the structure of a trick. The first act is pick a card. The second act is shuffle the deck. The third act is this your card. And so what's really hard every time out is how do you do that? How do you make the movie feel like a trick? And it's harder than it seems. As I always say, they're deceptively tricky, pun intended, to come up with the ideas for these movies because you don't want to feel like you're just doing a variation on a trick they've seen. So the reason it took a while was that we just didn't have the right idea. We didn't think that it was going to be worthy of what all the great work that had come before. And so when Ruben and I first started talking, and Ruben leaned in, the first thing is like we've got to do as much of this magic in camera, and let's start there. And also, what is a emotional journey for these characters that are now 10 years older? So it's, let's acknowledge that they're older. Let's acknowledge they're in a different place. And what would be the most interesting? And that's what led us towards, well, wait a minute, what if they used to be the young bucks and now they're in middle age, and some of them are married and they have kids and they're dealing with all that stuff that happens when you get older. And now there's a bunch of young upstarts that have very different ideas about the craft, about what it means to be a magician that fights for the little guy, and they may have a different attitude about it. And that is the stuff of that friction gets you good drama. And again, the thing about the word that I love to use, that I love as a compliment to movies, is like buoyancy. And it's different than just energy, because some directors, they're just moving the camera around, but it's not necessarily buoyant. Buoyant is a feeling, and it's using shots to create a feeling. And that is something, to your point, that Ruben does so well. And that was something that I knew we were going to be able to rely on and count on and every day. And that was so much of it. And the trust that, I've been able to, over the course of this franchise, build with these actors, but then Ruben coming in as the director, and the trust that certainly that Woody and Jesse had, that bled over immediately to everybody else, because movies are tough to make, and it's 60 and it's 70 days and the hours are crazy, and you really have to trust the person that's saying to you, even though it feels like this process is fragmented in a million different ways, trust me, it's going to work. And I've worked with a lot of directors that don't know how to do that, and so that was for me, what made this such a great collaboration, and the perfect person for the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean the way yeah, I mean it's just such a fun movie. I don't want to spoil anything. But so then when you spoke on Bobby, so when Ruben, when you have to like manage all these different, because the cast is huge. So you're adding the Horsemen, then you have the three new cast members. Then you also have this amazing villain in Rosamund Pike. So how are you sort of balancing it and on top of that, casting Rosamund as the villain because you do need someone to go toe to toe with these our heroes.
Yeah, I mean, the bar was set very high in these films, with legendary actors like Michael Caine and Daniel Radcliffe playing villains in the past movies. I knew that we had to really step up. And Rosamund's just somebody from the first time I saw her on screen, she just absolutely captivated me. She's obviously beautiful, but she's also brilliant. I mean, I think she's Oxford educated and just seems so sophisticated. So in bringing to life Veronica Vanderburg, this diamond magnate from South Africa, I knew that we needed someone really captivating. And Rosamund was my first choice. I absolutely loved her most recently in Saltburn. She makes every character she plays so delicious, and that was the quality that I wanted our villain to have. You just like love it watching them twirl their mustaches, planning their next move. And what was great too is that Rosamund stepped into the fray with everybody else. Like you mentioned, it's a huge cast, but she just had so much fun. I mean, I think she took a cue from everybody. Like the tone of these movies is fun. That was our North Star from beginning to end, is like, how can this be the most fun movie possible for audiences? And Rosamund leaned into that spirit and just brought so much joy to her part.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. She said something that was so smart to Ruben and I early, which she said, if the audience sees the villain having fun being a villain, then they get to love her and hate her at the same time. And that was it's such a smart actor choice. And it also is what allows her to have fun with it, be truly villainous, but also not doing the thing that can hurt a movie sometimes, which is resorting into making it campy. Because when it's campy, the villain isn't a threat, and the villain isn't a threat, then any of the jeopardy that you're putting our heroes in isn't real. And so it's the calibration of that is really tricky, and she totally nailed it. And just one thing, I mean, when we were shooting in Abu Dhabi, we were shooting nights because it's so hot, even at night. So we'd be shooting till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were all staying basically at the same hotel. And on more than one occasion, we got back to the hotel, walked straight through the lobby out towards the beach, and everybody jumped in the water with their clothes on and watched the sunrise in the Persian Gulf. That's pretty cool. So I don't know a lot of casts that do that, but that was the kind of vibe that we had, and that's the kind of fun we had. So that's something that, when this movie, whatever happens, like that, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. That was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you can really tell the chemistry is just so good. And then you guys did go ahead and announce, or I guess it's in development, that you're making a fourth installment. And I don't want to get too much into because there's plenty of surprises that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy in this film. So how did you sort of want to set up where the fourth installment could go? Because there's a couple different paths that you lay out near the end of the film. And I don't want you guys obviously to get too much into spoilers, but if you're able to tease anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think in constructing these movies, ultimately they're about the characters' journeys, and we've established this new crew who kind of earn their stripes in this film. And then the question is, where do they go from there, and what do they do next? And it's tricky because we have so many different characters to service, but they're all under the umbrella of the Eye, which is this secret magic organization that's been touched upon in past films, and we go into a little bit more detail in this film. And so it's kind of not as much as what we want the characters to do, but what does the Eye need from them in future installment. And so it'll be fun to see how it all plays out, but I can promise you it will be filled with magic and mystery and tricks and twists and turns like all the past ones.
I think one thing I'm happy to tease out is that, in the first movie, they're not fugitives yet. And so because they're not fugitives, they actually put on stage shows in front of, the first show in the first movie is in front of like 20,000 people in Las Vegas. Since that time, they're on the run. And so we've had to sort of come up with ways for them to perform while they're on the run. And so now by the time they get to the end of this movie and everyone gets to see it and sees how we've sort of shaken the storyline up, they get to perform now again, sort of, in front of people. And so I think that'll be really fun to kind of put on some real large scale epic magic, the kind of magic you can only see, at a big, incredible Las Vegas show, but also add the multiplier of great cinema. And so I think that'll be something we're definitely going to have fun with. And then also, the movies have this great, travelogue to them. We've been to, New Orleans and New York and Paris and Antwerp and Macau and Abu Dhabi, and south of France. And so that's going to be part of it. And we're coming up with some really cool places to stage magic. You've never seen magic stage before. So I'm happy to share that. But the rest you'll have to wait a couple of years and then you'll see it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm very excited where it's going because that last scene is just that's what I was waiting for the whole. I was just waiting the whole movie to watch that last scene, but
Keep
it's so
telling
awesome.
people that. Tell everybody that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's something's gonna happen after the credits or not, but I'm glad you guys put it before the credits roll. But it's just so awesome. But thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it,
Appreciate
Rohan.
it. Thanks, man.
Questions.
See you.
Take care.
You did.